Welcome back. You're still watching Inside Politics with me, Freddie Ndimuli. And as promised, we're keeping our eyes glued on the official residence of the Deputy President, William Ruto, who's still expected to name his running mates. This is more than 24 hours after that announcement was initially expected. Now, reporter Muremi Mwangi is on standby from that end. And Karen, good morning, Muremi. What kind of activity is taking place at the residence of the Deputy President?
Good morning, Fred. Nothing much to report besides the entry of several leaders affiliated to the Kenya Kwanza formation that continue streaming in here at the official residence of Deputy President or the Deputy President's official residence. And earlier today, we were informed that there would be a church service ongoing here. It's still ongoing, and we are hopefully expecting that announcement to come after that particular service. I peeped in a while ago on one of the platforms where they are streaming the church service, and it's still ongoing, the preaching as well, and a perfect selection of the message, perhaps just from the few minutes I listened in, where the preaching is about the accession of the biblical Esther to the position of queen. Perhaps a deliberate choice of the message for the preaching, given the concentration of the Kenya Kwanza formation on their now popular message of bottom-up economics that is all about the lowest cadres of society and the promise of their accession to the top. And the big announcement, of course, is on the running mate position, given that the deadline for electoral body IEBC is tomorrow. And there was a promise early this morning, well past midnight, from Hussein Mohammed, who is the head of communications for the William Ruto Presidential Secretariat, that that white smoke would be, would come to be seen today, or the official announcement on the running mate would be made today. Just to give you a sneak peek of the activity within, because nothing much to report, as I said, besides the arrival of several leaders here. You can just see the convoy of the vehicles packed right through, and those are some of the leaders that have arrived here a few moments ago. I had a brief chat with the UDA chairman, former Machakos Senator Johnston Muthama, who also streamed in here today, and I asked the very same question, whether for how much longer we would have to wait, given that yesterday's wait went way past midnight, and he just smiled and said, we expect the white smoke today, and therefore definitely just the continuation of that waiting for the official announcement of who will be the running mate for Deputy President William Ruto in the August 9th presidential contest, Fred.
Thank you, Muremi. And of course, you say you talked to some of the leaders. Would you, apart from the chair of the UDA, who else can you say has arrived there, the kind of guests arriving at the Deputy President's home? Because hashtag Ruto Decides is still top trend on Twitter. Is that the kind of feeling you get standing right outside his gate?
Well, I have also spotted the party leader, Kilifi Governor Amason Kingi, streaming, as well as former National Assembly Majority Leader Eden Duale, and a host of governors affiliated to the Kenya Kwanza formation, as well as legislators. And therefore, we expect an announcement that will be backed by the entire show of might, of dominance from what we've previously seen when the Deputy President has had his briefings here, where you will have the members of the National Assembly, senators, governors, and a host of aspirants eyeing several seats also invited here. Because if I reflect from yesterday, specifically the dominant or major political party leaders that were in attendance here in the negotiations that were ongoing as members of the press awaited that briefing. There was the ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi. We expect him to also be here today. We were aware that Ford Kenya leader Moses Wetangula was also here, as well as several other political party leaders, including Alfred Mutua of Maendeleo Chap, Governor Kingi, as well as William Kabogo, who had actually a brief chat with the journalists here earlier before streaming in yesterday. And therefore, we expect the same presentation of leadership of the parties that are in the Kenya Kwanza formation, as well as legislators, governors, and senators affiliated to the same outfit being invited for the big announcement, which, as I said earlier, could come anytime after the church service that is ongoing inside the official residence, Fred.
Well, thank you, Muremi Mwangi, there live from the gate of the official residence of the Deputy President in Karen. Thank you so much, Muremi. We'll be coming back to you for more updates on what's happening on that end. And as I mentioned earlier, hashtag Ruto Decides is still the top trend on Twitter. Hashtag Runnymate is a second top trend. Karen is trending. Rigathi is trending. Kamukunji as well. Remember, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition is slated to hold a mega rally at the Kamukunji grounds later today. Issues to do with the running mate as well anticipated from that end. Whether or not it will happen, it remains the biggest discussion today. The choice of running mate for the presidential candidates, William Ruto and Raila Odinga, is the biggest discussion this morning. And we now want to bring in Dismas Mukua, political risk analyst, into this conversation. Good morning, Dismas. Karibu sana.
Thank you. I'm very delighted to be here.
Yes, Kenechesa, Wakili Kenechesa is joining us via video link from Kakamega. Wakili, good morning.
Good morning, Fred. I'm equally excited to be back in Inside Politics.
Good to have you with us today. Now, gentlemen, let's start with you, Dismas. It's very interesting how much anticipation Kenyans have on the naming of a running mate for president. Has this always been the case? The position of running mate, this is probably the third election we're heading to with this kind of position under the Constitution. But previously, we've not seen this kind of expectation, even from Kenyans in general.
Well, I think there are several observations to be made. Now, the first one, that it's really bad manners, and it's unacceptable for the party leaders to keep the nation waiting all along, that the entire nation comes to a standstill because you're waiting for somebody to name a running mate. But again, this is a reflection of the position of a running mate, the way it's created a bit of excitement and attention, points to two things: that Kenyans are still alive to ethnic nationalism, that all of us are aligned to our tribal thinking, and that the tribal chiefs hold a lot of weight on our thinking. And then number two, about ethnic majoritarianism, because everybody, I mean, as people are waiting for the name yesterday, everybody is glued to Mount Kenya. There's no other reason. There's no other region where people are saying that you may have a running mate from another region. Everybody expects the name to come from Mount Kenya. And I've noticed that a number of things which are probably unacceptable, that every single person who expects to be a running mate is mobilizing his supporters, is mobilizing social media activity, is even mobilizing media, so as to raise their interest and raise their candidature. Mm-hmm. It's never happened in the past that if you expect to be a running mate, you'll actually have demonstrations in your village where you start shouting, "No Rigathi, no deal, no Ruto." That is unacceptable. And then on the other hand, Professor Kithure Kindiki had also mobilized people to go to his home and say that they were in prayers, hoping that their son becomes named as a running mate. So this points to things that are unacceptable, that Kenya as a nation, our voters are emotional and irrational, and we are being held hostage to, or rather we're held hostage by our tribal leaders, that we are still suffer from the Stockholm syndrome, that we don't look at leadership as an opportunity for somebody to serve the nation. We look at leadership as an opportunity for our son or daughter to be seated somewhere and loot and bring the loot back home.
Yeah, interesting. This always brings this Stockholm syndrome narrative whenever we discuss these things, politics. But Wakili Kenechesa, a lot has happened, and there are a lot of intrigues, even just looking at the papers this morning. 15-hour crisis talks put Ruto allies on edge. The deputy president was ready to name a running mate by 10 a.m. yesterday. What do you think happened that more than 24 hours later, it is yet to happen?
Fred, to me, I think it is a game of interests. The deputy president was unable to name the running mate by 10 a.m. yesterday because of the intrigues, because of the tribal thinking, because of some selfish interests of particular politicians. And this position, it appears in the in the Kenya Kwanza coalition, has become too personal. It is no longer about the interest of the nation. And William Ruto was being faced, or is still being faced, with two possibilities, two options and two dangers. One, to have the interest of the entire nation and name Professor Abraham Kindiki Kithure as his running mate. Because Kindiki Kithure has a national picture, has the national acceptability, has a curriculum vitae, professional experience that is reminiscent with the position of a deputy president. The other option that William Ruto is faced with is that of naming Rigathi Gachagua and cementing his hold onto the central Kenya, the Mount Kenya region. Because Kindiki apparently does not appear to be a Mount Kenya, to be the central Mount Kenya. He is at the periphery of Mount Kenya. But Rigathi is at the center of the Mount Kenya politics. So I can feel the kind of difficulty that William Ruto is being taken through. It is that of Wetangula once said that the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. It's actually a competition of interests. Yeah. Should we put the nation first, or should we put a particular community first? At the end of the day, William Ruto will have to make a sacrifice between the two gentlemen and either consider the entire nation of Kenya, the Republic of Kenya in its entirety, by naming Professor Abraham Kindiki Kithure, or cede to the pressure that has been put on him by the central Kenya leaders in Kenya Kwanza and name Rigathi Gachagua for the interest of one region of this country called Mount Kenya region.
Yes, interesting that you say Mount Kenya, or Mount Kenya, Central Kenya. And that difference is not really clear. But this must... earlier on, it appeared that the deputy president was going to have a relatively easier time naming his running mate as compared to his arch-rival, Raila Odinga, on the other end. Why do you think things are changing? It appears now his job is even tougher.
Well, you know, in management, there are so many problems. One of them is a wicked problem, that you want to solve a problem, but you don't have a complete set of information. There are many moving variables, there are so many factors, that whichever decision you take is going to harm you. So William Samoei Ruto finds himself with a political wicked problem, because whatever decision he takes, there are going to be major fallouts. Now, HS has indicated that Rigathi Gachagua is more Mount Kenya than Kithure Kindiki, which is a statement of fact. But again, that points to the ethnic nationalism and the ethnic majoritarianism. So, and you know, it's very interesting that a couple of days ago, William Samoei Ruto indicated that for him to name a running mate is going to be a walk in the park, that is not having sleepless nights as a result of the same. That in fact, it's only Raila Odinga who is having issues. But this was confirmed last evening after keeping the nation under suspense the entire day, and you know, telling people there is going to be an update after every 1 hour, and nothing happens. It actually confirms that this is a complicated, simultaneous equation that he needs to look at carefully to avoid fallouts. But the reason we're here is that we are trying to embrace the Western model of politics, that you want public participation in this process, that you set up a committee and everybody comes on board. The decision for a running mate, looking at the Kenyan context, must not be anchored on best practices in other parts of the world. It must be an individual decision that is the running mate to make the decision, so as to avoid the infiltration by special interest groups, by cartels, and you know, by every Tom, Dick, and Harry. This idea that you're calling all the elected leaders to the current residence and taking a vote, having a brainstorming session, and in the process keeping the nation under suspense is unacceptable. I wish that all these things are taken place in the curve of privacy, so that, you know, Mora doesn't get to know about this thing. Because yesterday Mora was told, wait a minute, we are going to name our running mate at 10 o'clock. It didn't happen. 12 hours later, it has not happened. Then we were told that a decision is going to be made in the middle of the night, that it did not take place. I think leaders need to respect the voters. They need to respect Kenyans, that if they say they're going to do something at 10 o'clock, they must respect that time. Anything else is still, the phrase you seem not to like a lot about the Stockholm Syndrome, because they know that Kenyans are emotionally attached to them, they're irrational, and they can wait for hours on end, and they will not penalize them for anything. In the Muli, I'll confirm to you that if this kind of situation happens in a more mature democracy like Israel, Britain, or the US, the leaders will be punished at the ballot for wasting an entire nation's time.
Yeah, and Rita Oyer now joins us. Rita is a communications professional. Good morning, Rita. It's good to have you in studio.
Good morning.
Good morning. And we seem to have gotten ourselves a new problem with the new constitution. That previously the vice president was not really an issue. It was left up to the president to name a vice president. Even in the first 2 elections, naming a running mate was not really a problem. But for this 3rd election, suddenly it is a big issue. 24 hours later, I don't think the deputy president has even had a moment to sleep, simply because he has a problem. He can't name the his running mate. Why all of a sudden do we have a problem with this single position?
I find it very interesting. And I think from this particular election, we'll have so many books written and so many case studies done, because even given how the outgoing president has handled his deputy president, you would assume it's a position more to be feared than to be desired. But for some reason, it has had an opposite effect. Suddenly, this is the most desirable seat in the country. But I look at it as a ladder. So for once, people have a chance. I mean, not for once. In this particular new constitution, voters are voting for the president and the running mate, and therefore the deputy president sees it as a ladder to the next. It has become the most predictable path to presidency. And that is why even for us women, and looking at the global statistics, for us to get a woman president, we desire so much that we have a woman running mate, because it has become the most predictable path to the highest executive seat. And I think that is why you're seeing all the drama, and all the energy around it, which is, for me, the saddest thing is that in the whole country, where we have 47 counties and 47 tribes as well, people just keep mentioning Mount Kenya, and I wonder, how do the other Kenyans feel?
Okay.
Yeah, how do the other Kenyans feel? Because this constitution was supposed to be an equalizer. Okay. But this particular... Makua, how are you?
Thank you.
You're disrupting me very energetically. Let me finish, then I'll give you a chance.
Let's allow Rita to finish.
Yes, please. So I wonder how the other Kenyans feel, because this particular constitution, even by way of devolution and how it has been designed, was supposed to be an equalizer. An equalizer for the marginalized, for the youth, for the women. But now, at the last minute, we've gone back to Mount Kenya.
Yes, and shortly we'll be heading to Madeira. It's in Nyeri County, where a lot of interest on this position, because Madeira MP Rigathi Gachagua is one of the front runners for this position, and as far as the Kenya Kwanza coalition is concerned. But before that, Dismas, you wanted to say something?
No, I just wanted to buttress a point in a very energetic manner, that this is not the first time you're having females considered for high positions. Charity Ngilu ran for presidency. Ilikuwa ni masaa yangu, but it did not generate this kind of excitement. And nowhere in the world, and in the history of Kenya, a vice president or a deputy president has not stepped from that office and immediately become the president. Probably Ruto may become the first person if he ever wins an election. But the reason why this role today is generating a lot of excitement, outside the theory of what a president is supposed to do, when you go to the practice, you're supposed to read newspapers on a daily basis, and just in the unlikely event, if for some reason the president is not functioning, then you will take office. So that is the reason why this thing has generated a lot of excitement right now, because it's been proved at times above number that depending on the composition of the presidency, it's possible to run the nation without the deputy president or without the vice president. Okay. President Moi ran Kenya for a long time without a vice president. And when Kenyans complained, he said, okay, I'm appointing Saitoti, if that's what it's going to take to increase the number of sufurias of ugali and anything else. And for the last 5 years, President Kenyatta has been running Kenya without William Samoei Ruto. The other day, people were shocked that Ruto actually attended a cabinet meeting, and it looked like he was out of his depth, and it became a topic of conversation. So even that raises issues. Okay. For the last 2 years, who's actually been running Kenya? Has it been President Kenyatta taking solo decisions, or it would be maybe a special interest group? But in my view, ladies, and I say this with respect to Rita, must not wait to be nominated as running mates. They've got capacity to go for the seat.
Run for president.
Yeah.
Very interesting thoughts around this position of running mate, and we'll continue discussing that. I'd mentioned that we'll be joining Clement Masombo live from Nyeri. Now, for the better part of the day yesterday, residents of Madeira constituency, where Rigathi Gachagua is a member for the National Assembly representing that area, were glued to screens, waiting that decision by the Deputy President, the announcement of his running mate. And at some point, they even chanted, "No Gachagua, no Ruto." Let's now join our reporter Clement Masombo, who's been on that beat. Clement, how is Karatina today?
Well, Fred, Karatina today is a little bit calm. There's not that much anxiety as it was yesterday. And yesterday we witnessed some unique scenarios where even the supporters of Madeira Member of Parliament, Rigathi Gachagua, started shouting, chanting, "No Rigathi, no Ruto," just trying to express their views on that they really wanted the son of their soil to be named as the running mate. But 24 hours later, actually more than 24 hours later, no announcement yet, and people are still patient. Right now, I'm at this Karatina town. I want to speak to some of the residents here to get their views, how they feel about the long wait, and about whatever is happening at the Kenya Kwanza and UDA as a party. Tuanze nawe ndugu, tumengoja kutoka jana. Tangazo halijatolewa nani ambaye atakuwa mgombea mwenza